Hello, hello. Heather Jean here. Welcome to Confidence with Cabaret, the podcast. We are talking about all things confidence. And today I'm so excited to meet somebody and to share with you someone who has followed a passion and really kind of made it into a beautiful business and analogy. And we're going to talk all about that today. So before we get too deeply into it, I just want to let you know, if you're listening on audio, you can check out the Vodcast, which is on the Vodcast playlist on Confidence Through Cabaret YouTube channel. If you're here on YouTube with us on the Vodcast playlist, you can check it out anywhere you get your podcasts on audio. Always forget to say that, so I thought I'd get it in early. Look at me getting all self-improving. So our guest today has empowered over 900 women to ride bikes and explore and build relationships that would have otherwise been squashed by fear. And we're going to get into that, what that means about, we're all squashed by some sort of fear at some point in our life. I'm super excited to share this. Also, our guest today has a podcast, and we're going to get into the success and the secrets behind that podcast. We're going to get into talking about the cyber fitness membership. And my guest is a mom of 3, has a master's race team, and is from my very favorite country in the whole world, Ottawa, Canada. Hello, Sylvie Doe. How are you?
Hello, Heather. I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast. I'm really excited to share some confidence building tips with your listeners.
You know what? You are all like, I always have guests who talk about, confidence and what that means for them and how they explore it and so on. But you are the only other person that I've met that sort of takes an analogy of a passion and applies that to building confidence in all parts of your life, really, right?
Yeah, I think it's so important. I find it hard when people have their, they don't make it a whole, like do the whole work. Like, if I was, like they have let me just say, like the business side is all figured out, but they're a mess like on their health side. And I just find, like, if you don't have the balance, it's really hard to have the synergy of, having your whole life put together. Like, don't get me wrong. Mine isn't like 100% perfect either. There's always room for improvement. And, I'm always improving relationships every day. But the thing is that I've always put myself first, and very few people do that, like, ever. I have 3 kids. I was first, even every time each one of those popped out of me. Like, yeah. And
that's so amazing, because I did the opposite. And I raised all 4 of my children to not understand self-care, because they never saw it demonstrated. Because I loved having my children. I loved had my business for 26 years this year. And I loved being able to do what I loved and be able to be with my children and have that flexibility of having your own business and setting your own hours. And that was my self-care in a weird way. But it wasn't. No, I know, but that was what I wanted to be doing, right? That was what I wanted to. I didn't want to go and do stuff on my own. And I didn't understand the importance of it. I felt like, well, if I'm not doing stuff, then I'm wasting time. So I'm the exact opposite. Now I'm an advocate of what you're talking about, but I did not get that.
Well, you know what? A lot of women are exactly like that. Like, they figure their children have to be pampered all the time. And, there are certain things you have to take care of, right? Like, are they fed? Are they changed? Are they safe? If all those boxes are checked, then, like, go off and do something yourself, like, bring them with you, for God's sakes. Like, when I had so I've got 3 kids, and my first one I had at 32. And that was before I had, like, I started my business kind of shortly after she arrived. And, she came everywhere with me, like, even the other 2. And like, even like the first day I got home from the hospital, I'm like, let's go walking, and we're gonna walk every day, and I'm gonna go to the gym, and she's gonna come with me, and that's just the way it rolled, and I never stopped.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. I didn't stop either. Okay, but
Yeah, I
here's
know.
what's so different, right? Okay, so my now 25-year-old, nearly 26-year-old, uh, he used to come with me when I traveled the world on
Oh
business.
my gosh, yeah.
And so I used to take him with me, and he would stay at the hotel, and I would go off and run my conferences, and then come back, and and get to be together. So I loved all of the together time, but my do like bringing my children with me was come to work with me. Whereas you're talking about going to the gym or doing, going for a walk and doing wonderful
Oh no,
things that.
no, they came with me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're taking them with you for a walk. I'm taking mine across the world to Dubai while I work.
Well, I had a studio, so she got to come there, but you know what I
Beautiful.
mean? Like life just didn't stop,
No.
I couldn't, in a sense. Like when you're an entrepreneur, things still have to happen. Things have to, like you have people who are relying on you, not just your children, but and also the whole health aspect, right? And that's where everybody, like puts that like so far down on the end of the list that it really comes and bites you in the butt later on. It doesn't take very long to become unhealthy, tired, miserable, moody, and then you're just like a you know a witch to everybody. I'm just
Yeah,
saying like that, but you know what I mean, like
yeah,
just nasty.
yeah,
And us moms, you know how that feels, um, when you're just not balanced. Like you're not eating well, you're not eating well, and you just get tired and overworked, and it never ends well. So, and that was one aspect that I promised myself when I was 25, that I would never let my health ever um, be compromised for anybody.
yeah,
And I'm 20 and I'm 50, I'm 51 now. And it still stands.
yeah. And that's amazing, because actually it is easier to take your young children with you to places. When they get a little bit older, they have their own kind of direction, and they go off in different ways. And I always
Mhm.
wanted to go with them. That was where the whole kind of self-care went down the toilet, because I wanted to go and be and see and experience the things that they were doing, and I was unwilling to sacrifice that. So that was why I said that was my self-care, because that was what I wanted to do most in the world, rather than be, out doing something that I would choose to do that didn't involve them. But it did mean that they did not learn self-care. I was not a role model, nor in
Mhm.
any way an advocate for knowing my own voice and knowing my own self-care. So I love that you do this. Now, where did cycling come in, right? Because that's kind of a core part of what you're talking about, with over 900 women riding bikes and exploring their relationships.
Yeah, that's a good question. It came into place when I was 20. I got well, my husband, my first husband, I hate saying it, my first husband, he was into adventure racing and mountain biking. So that's where the cycling came in. And then I decided, we were going on a trip, and I was like, you know what? What if I started a spinning studio? All my friends would come and train with me. We're all adventure, like that never happens, right? Your friends never support you, by the way. And so that's where the cycling started. Like in 2001, one of my friends had a gym, and he's like, well, if you get the bikes, I will lend you, you can use a space. Like we'd have to move the bikes every time. I'm like, okay. So I got 10 bikes, and we started teaching spin classes. We all got certified. There's a bunch of us. And then after about a year or two, that was 2001, about a year or two, I got my own spot in like my own room. I got more bikes. And then 2004, I got my own location. So then I brought all my bikes and I had my own spinning studio. And that's where it just took off. That was 2004, 2005. I'm like, hey, I want to race. So let's make a women's masters race team. I had no idea what racing is like. We found so there's like 6 of us. I just asked some of my girlfriends. I'm like, hey, you want to learn how to road race? So I'm like, I don't know. Just like race bikes. And we got a coach. And so she showed us the ropes and took us to a bunch of races. And that was also the year I got divorced. I know that's a whole story. But you just have to take things in stride. I continued on with that team for 8 years, not the same girls, the team.
Yeah.
I had different girls come and go. But and then in 2008, I started a women's cycling club because within the studio, all I heard was from women who were a lot of my clients were women, whereas like how they loved to ride, but they hated riding by themselves. They hated following their partners. Oh yeah, it's the same story every year. Or they're new to the city. They didn't know them, the routes and things like that. But mostly it was safety, security, knowledge on how to ride. And then I was like, man, this city needs a women's cycling club. I mean, at that time, this is like 2008. That was a long time ago. That's like 1 year after Facebook was birthed, like it was. And so I'm like, oh, I should do this. And then I just, you just throw the post out there and God, like, who is going to join this? I had 42 women the first year. I'm like, what am I going to do with these ladies? I had no, that's how it started. So it's 14 years this year.
Wow.
And so I've taken my knowledge that I learned from many coaches from my racing, and I've taught women how to ride their bikes with confidence, how to, manage their gears, like group ride, like follow each other, be able to brake and just be more confident. I'm telling you, Heather, it brings tears to my eyes. Like every time I start a year and all the new ladies have to do a 4-hour clinic on how to ride in a group. And then we start all of our group rides. So everybody's got the terminology. They know how to use their brakes. They know how to change gears. They know how to ride safely behind someone, eat, drink, like all these things you never think about on a group ride that make it safe for everybody else. And like, that's where those stories come from. I ask everybody before we start, I said, what brought you here? And what are you hoping? What do you want to learn? And I get the same stories over and over and over again. Either they're new to the city, they've been riding for years by themselves, they hate following their partners, they're too fast, they're too this, they feel degraded. It's the same story every year. And when I'm finished with them, they are 100%, 150% like so confident. Like you could just see them grow over the 4 hours. It's unbelievable. It's like one of the most favorite things every year. I get to meet new people and I get to empower them to be better. And like, and that's how cycling started and still goes. So there you go. There's a long-winded answer to your question.
I love that. I love that. And I think that point about, being squashed by fear, either fear of going out on your own or fear of, not knowing and, riding in a group and not really being sure. I mean, I've joined running groups before where we just go out on a run,
running's easy.
I don't even, but I don't know the first thing about, keeping hydrated or what happens if I fall behind or, what kind of support can I expect or any of those kind of things. And running is easy. I mean, those are very simple questions that they could cover in about 10 minutes,
Yeah.
But they've just kind of gone, oh, you're all here, let's go. And then they all
exactly. You're going that way and back and that's it.
Yeah. Where are we going? And how long are we going for? What is happening here?
Yeah.
So I think that, there's a lot of fear. A lot of times when we get older, we're less comfortable with asking for
Mm,
those kind of
you know,
questions or
what I really like? I just go so sad when I hear women like, "Oh, I was waiting to get more fit to join you." I'm like, "What are you talking about? What does that mean anyways?" Like, this is where you come to get fit. We have like 5 different levels, like from like beginner, like you can ride your bike, to like, the ladies who love to do 100K every weekend, and we added an extra group just because of that, like because we were finding, we are very good at bringing in the beginners, so they would, and our club would almost max out at a certain, um, you know, not fitness level, but like we didn't have anything for the more advanced girls. And I'm like, I'm a more advanced girl. I need something. And those girls are leaving our club after 3 years of getting what they needed because we are not providing it. So that's why I'm like, we have to add a 5th group to accommodate those ladies who want to do events, who want to ride longer and faster, and so that we don't disrupt the beginners to intermediate level. Um, you know, it's,
it's intimidating
it
for
is
those
totally, yeah.
who are at the intermediate level, and it's boring for those who are at the advanced level. The same thing happens for me in the aerial world.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I got to get more fit before I can, climb a pole. It's like, well, that's how you learn to climb the pole, because you get fitter and stronger and you learn the
Yeah.
techniques. And you're not there with somebody who is at a, high competitive level.
Mm.
They're totally different, but
Yeah.
everybody's in that same kind of community. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what I enjoy about the analogy of your work is so aligned with, you know, with what I'm talking about with, Ariel and Cabaret. And I think, kind of using those analogies and those stories and that understanding of people is a great way for you to be able to help even more people grow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's so empowering, but I just feel like so I'm like, wow, you've been waiting for how long to feel good about joining the club because you thought of something that was like completely not true. You know what and I tell this lady, we do a spring social and information session every year, every spring, like in April. And I'm like, whatever story it is you're telling yourself in your head, I just want you to leave it. I said, I want you to come to this club because you want to come and you want to ride bikes and you want to meet other people. I go, stop with the stories. You're not good enough. You don't deserve. You're not fit enough. You're not this. You're not that. You are. And you are going to like I said, when I'm finished with you after 4 hours, you're going to wish you joined like years ago. And it pains me. That's what I was saying. It pains me when I hear those things. I've been watching you guys for years. I'm like, yeah, how's it feel? Like you could have been in those pictures that you're seeing on social media. Like you could have been having fun, but no, so yeah. So those who come forward and just like put their ego aside and like make it amazing summer. I mean, then the thing is like when you join, you got to come out. And there's another whole set of like mindset things that they're telling themselves, like, I'm not fast enough. I'm slowing people down. I'm like, stop it, ladies. Like, geez, you're killing yourself. You're killing me. Like, just get on your bike. Like, we are not going to leave you behind. That's not what we do.
yeah.
And everybody knows that. So,
Exactly. But I think that analogy applies to a lot of things that
mm-hmm.
we wish we had done or wish we did earlier, or or whatever it is. Certainly in the cabaret world, people sort of say, "Oh, I wish I'd done that when I was younger." Well, do it now. I don't care if you're 60 or 70 years old.
I know sometimes there were things were not available when you're younger. Like, let's be real. Like when I was in the teens, I had a bike. No such thing as like bike clubs, bike, um,
But
But
there must have been, Sylvie, because there was the Olympics and they had squats. There must have been somebody somewhere
yeah,
that came into it and started training or fell in love with it and did things. It's just that we didn't have access to the information to find out where those
well, there
things,
you go. Yeah.
you know, and it's the same with so many things. We just,
Hmm.
you know, if we really wanted it, we could have found it. We just didn't know it was out there,
Or
and that's the
existed.
beauty. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that same thing is true of, because I know you have a podcast as well. That same thing is true of people who want to start a podcast. And I'm laughing because I have helped so many women start podcasts. I don't even want to count anymore, because they'll say, "Well, I'm going to start one next year," and I'm like, "It's the beginning of this year. Why a year?" Like, "Oh, well, I have to research and I have to get everything and I have to,
Oh
you
my
know,
gosh.
what kind of microphone to start with and what kind of lighting and what platform." And I'm like, so my coaching clients, if they really do want to start a podcast, like they genuinely do it, and it's not just them saying it's going to be a year because they don't want to do it. If they really do want to, I give them 1 week.
Oh yeah. It's funny because like when I decided I wanted to do this, I started it like in 2018. I started doing lives on Facebook where I would go and I would interview. So my podcast's all around cycling, obviously, because I'm a cyclist.
Mhm.
And but the thing is, it's about all things cycling. So whoever, whatever makes the world of cycling go around. So it could be an athlete, it could be somebody riding for a cause, an event, a bike shop owner, anyone. You sat on a bike, I'll interview you, really. Um, so I started doing lives, and then and I would travel. And that I could see like over time that would be a little bit problematic, um, but then I went on holidays for a month, and I didn't pick it up. I'm like, oh, I have to do that. I have to do it. I have to keep going. However, I kept all of those lives in videos and audios. So I stored those. Oh, and those were the ones that I started with in my podcast. So come back around, so it was 2020, 2000, December 2020. I'm like, that fall, I'm like, Sylvie, you got to freaking do this. Like, you've been thinking about it for how many years now? Like, since you started, just do it. So I hired someone to, I had already like you need certain things. You need like your graphics. You need to figure out what platform you're going to do it on. So once I had that, and my friend kind of helped me out get on the platform, I hired somebody to do all the connecting work, basically with my intro, outro, and getting on Apple and Spotify and all those things. Like I have no idea how that happens. I hired someone to do it, and he's like, so when's your deadline? I go, well, 2 weeks. He's like, what, don't you want to wait till after Christmas? I go, no. Why would I want to wait? I've been waiting. I said, we're doing this and you have 15 days to get it done because that's when we're launching. And so it put a fire underneath me, and it certainly put a fire underneath him. It's like sitting there, do. I got, no, the 15th of December, we're doing it before Christmas. And so Christmas is a good time. People are not doing anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and
And now you
yeah,
had over 100,000 subscribers in your first year.
no downloads.
Oh,
I
downloads.
wish I had 100 subscribers. That would be amazing.
But even 100,000, I mean, 100,000 of anything is a lot,
Yeah.
right? But even 100,000 downloads, like how did you do that? Going from, I don't know how this all works, to I've got all these people listening.
So that's a great question. And if you're going to do that, you better be ready to work, because so I listen to certain mentors of mine. I have certain mentors, and they said if you want to get your podcast off the ground, and if you have, so my mission is to have my podcast sponsored. Like I want to start doing sponsorship and ads and things like that. It's going to be an income generator for me. And I'm not afraid to say it, because why not? You know,
Put it
I'm
out
doing
there.
all this work. It costs money. Let's do this. And it's cycling based. I could talk about tons of things on this. So that is what I had going into this. Like that's where I wanted to go. And that's where it is right now. But so this mentor said, you have to do 3 episodes a week. So 3 episodes a week. Now, so I already had about 12 to launch with. Remember, I had pre-recorded ones from 2 years ago and I totally used them. I was just like, hey, just wanted to let you know that this was pre-recorded from 2 years ago. And, and this is one of my first episodes. And then luckily, so I'm a cycling coach. I was in the cycling program for coaches with about 25 other coaches. So what I did is I booked all of them, almost all of them, for interviews in January. So I did 25 interviews in January while all my other episodes were running. So I was able to bank a lot and set aside certain days for interviews. I did 5 episodes a week. I recorded. Yeah, so January was a huge month. Like I just I got onto Calendly. If you're going to do this, get yourself set up on a calendar system. So when you reach out to somebody, hey, I saw your story. I love it. Would you like to be on a podcast? Yes. Awesome. Here's the link. Book yourself. I don't do that. Like I'm shading myself on podcasts. And if you don't have a calendar link, like, hello, like
I
I'm
know
not.
you and I had that conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
I use
Like,
it except when I'm traveling. I can't get my
I
head
can
around
see that
it all.
because it's,
It makes me dizzy. And I'm so afraid of missing it with other people's time zones as it is. Stay still. When I change time zones, then I'm like, no, I don't know how that works.
yeah, I suppose. But if I'm sitting here and somebody in Vancouver or, or even Australia, it goes into their calendar. Like, so like I've done interviews in Australia where I had to do a special, obviously timing because middle of the day is obviously not good for them because it's middle of the night. So, so I did do early morning episodes. But that's the thing. You have to be very systematic about it. And no back and forth, like what day is good for you? What day? Unless you're with Heather here, so I don't mind.
Well, unless with Heather, and at the point when when I'm about to travel or in mid travel, and
yeah,
how long I was away for. So
so that's how I got everybody booked.
So you
and
got everybody booked, but how did you get people to listen?
Oh, well, okay. Well, I'm a cyclist. I've been in the cycling world for 20 years. I have friends. Well, or a following or like, so I'm on certain pages. And I had their audience follow and listen as well because, everybody gets links to their episodes. Now after, when was it? I was coming up on 100 episodes, which was, I think, like May. So what I did is I joined a mastermind group. Okay, so this is all entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs who are building their businesses. And we had groups. And so one of my things that I was in the group for, or in that mastermind for, was to build my podcast. So, and through my mentor, he had a template on how to do a contest. Now, giveaways and things like that. So I did a very long one where I engaged a lot of my teammates to post my podcast on their platforms. So I had like 50 people sharing over 10 weeks. And that's how I grew my my episodes to about 50,000 downloads, maybe when I was 60,000. And no, but probably 50. And then throughout the rest of the summer to the fall, just putting it out there more. Now you got regular listeners, right? I'm on 3 times a week. So I'm always in your face. Like if you're, and you know, I'm on YouTube, they all go on YouTube. You don't have to do that. But, so I started setting up a system with that. And I was continuously interviewing, and one segment is a coaching segment that I do. So that's the hardest. I can interview people till the cows come home, but when I have to do my own episode, I'm like, I don't know, what do I talk about? And yeah, and so that's what I did. You have to have like, if you really want it to get out there, you have to do it more than once a week. It has to be like 2 to 3. And so you don't need to do research on what kind of podcast. If you don't know what kind of podcast, you probably shouldn't do one. Like if there is nothing you have that you can passionately talk about, like till like over coffee till the cows come home, that doesn't bring tears to your eyes, that maybe you don't have a podcast episode like idea, because there's no research. Like you're passionate about something or a professional that you could talk about tips and whatever it is that you do on a daily basis. That's just my feeling. But if you make it that hard, maybe you just weren't meant for a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on a podcast where the host said, rather than know 500 things, I would rather know one thing from 500 people. Like, you know, so it's
Yeah.
not like I'm not just trying to, you know, understand a subject more deeply. I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
to understand 500 subjects and just one thing about each one. And she just
Yeah.
wanted to meet people from all over the world, and that was her thing.
Oh,
You know,
well, see, I mean, if
that's
that's because, like, how many people do I get to meet? Like, it's amazing. Like, I love it. I have connections all over the world now.
yeah.
But they're all in the cycling world. So if you're a mom, I mean, God, moms can talk about a gazillion things. And there are a lot of good mom podcasts out there, like homesteading. Like, what's your passion? Because that's what's going to keep you going to be doing this every day, like every week. Like, you know, I just love meeting people and asking questions and just learning, and helping if I can, you know.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. Now, speaking of contests, you tell us a little bit about your platform and your membership and all that you're up to right now, because
Okay. All right. Well, you said contest, so I'll talk about my current podcast contest. And this is, and so here's the thing, everybody. Now I've made a lot of friends in the cycling world. So my podcast contest is leading up to my 200th episode, which is March 11th. So every week, so what drives your podcast to the top are reviews, downloads, ratings. And of course, you get them to follow your Instagram handle. So now, what I'm doing leading up is every week I'm doing a giveaway. So I just created an Instagram page where all my episodes are. They're all sitting there. So if you can go there and listen to them. And that's an easy way for me to also pull out different ones and get them in front of people, of my guests. So what I'm doing is every week, every Friday, I'm going into the review. So I'm asking people to review, rate, and follow. And I'm pulling a review. So if you want to be in the podcast, in the contest, then go to Secrets from the Saddle podcast. You can find it on everywhere. And put a review in Apple and also follow, and you could win. So now what I'm doing is I'm going back to some of my guests who have stores, and I'm like, hey, would you like to provide a gift for the giveaway? So I don't have to do it. And that way I'm also then promoting again their business, which they appreciate. More people are seeing their online store or their product. They're cycling related, right? I got cycling related followers. And then at the end, there's going to be a grand prize, like on the week of the 200th episode, that I'm going to pull from the reviews again. Like from one is from all the winners, and then one will be from all the reviews. So yeah, and so I've got like gift certificates to online stores, hats, cycling hats. I have a free entry to one of the most iconic gravel races in the United States. I know, for a woman. So, it's this thing. I'm like, hey, would you like to give away? Like, da da da. And, and then it's not out of my pocket. Right. And, a lot of people do giveaways like Amazon gift cards. Like maybe the grand prize will be an Amazon gift card from me. But if I can avoid money out of my pocket and so I can promote other people, then I will. So that's the contest, which is happening right now.
Like, that's happening right now because this will be up well before that. And actually, even if you are hearing this after the end of March, get involved with listening to the podcast Secrets from the Saddle. Get involved with reviews, and we really do this because we love meeting people and connecting with people and sharing their stories and their tips. But it really, your part is in reviewing or subscribing or sharing the podcast as well. So
yeah,
just get involved. If you're here with us, then like and subscribe while you're here. Jump on over to Sylvie, and we'll put all the details in the show notes as well. So, but you also have an online fitness membership.
Yes.
So this
goes back to the ladies again. Self-care. And I've made it impossible for excuses because and I know that there's a lot of similar platforms out there, but I found in the ones that I looked at is that you are one of like 100,000 people. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just you're just lost in the shuffle. So my podcast, my online membership is obviously small right now. My Facebook group is small and it's very intimate, which is nice. And I have live workouts. And so workouts and yoga. So I partnered with my girlfriend who does yoga. It's amazing. Like I just started doing them with her. I'm like, she's been doing it for a year on my page. I'm like, listen to me. So, but it's making time. And I always say, if you are going to really commit to yourself, and you have to commit to yourself, you can't just say, I'm going to start Monday. That doesn't mean you're committing to yourself. That's just meaning you're giving a start date that's probably not going to happen. You might as well just start today. And the thing is that on our platform, there's every workout I've done is recorded there. There's over 100. So you could start today. That's what I'm saying. You pay for the membership. You can join the online live workouts if 7:30 a.m. Eastern works for you. Heather, you're in the UK, right?
Yes.
I partnered with a girl. She was my business coach. She's from the UK. And she has fitness programs, outside boot camps, but she does some inside. So she was looking for a coach to teach at lunchtime, her time, right? Which is my 7:30 time. So we partnered. And so she has some of her evening classes in the afternoon for my retired ladies, or, who don't want to wake up at 7:30. So we've collaborated, which is really cool. And there's no money distribution. It's just that she's offering more services for her clients and I'm offering more services for my clients, and I don't have to teach it. So it's amazing. In any case, you could start today. Literally do a yoga session, do a workout, go and do a 15-minute leg session. Everything is there. But the thing is that it has to get on your schedule. So that's where the kids come in place. Like, really, You don't have to make lunches. Teach your kids how to make lunches. Okay, if they're old enough. You got a husband, you got a partner. If they're around, if you're single, you can do the recording after they get on the bus, before work or at lunch. But it's about taking the time and really understanding what it's going to do for you. We can work 24/7 on whatever for ourselves. I mean, like work, entrepreneur, you're working for somebody else. Like, inbox is always full. Doesn't matter. It's always going to be full when you die. Like, take some time for yourself, right? And you have to be okay with that. And you have to set boundaries. If you're working with other people, like, I don't work through lunch. This is what I'm doing. I'm back at 1. I'm off at 12, back at 1. Don't bother me. And it's being super intentional that way. Maybe you have to get up a little bit earlier. Like, it takes a while to get that routine, but it's well worth it. Like, honestly, if you can start a day with a workout. Now I work out every morning because I do my workout live. Then I do yoga. So I'm doing something 5 days a week, but it's at 7:30. I work for myself. I pulled my husband into it. I'm like, we're going to do yoga together. We're both working at home. There's no excuse. It's half an hour as well. You could be sitting at your desk at 8:30.
You absolutely could. And I think that's the thing is it's excuses, and it's kind of getting to the bottom of what's going on behind that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little bit like, excuses of why women aren't joining the cycling until they're more fit. It's like, actually, that's not the real excuse. There's something going on behind that. And it's probably related to some sort of fear of, judgment or failure or whatever it is.
Or that they have to take care of everything.
Yeah. And then they're just exhausted, and then they're too exhausted to even want to work out.
Yeah.
We find this a lot in the aerial world. It's like, so pole dancing is a great example of that, because there's very often, it's nothing to do with the fitness or the strength or even the judgment, because it is for literally everybody, every size, every age. It doesn't matter. But there is a sensuality and sexuality element to it, because you're moving around a pole, right? And you're holding it and caressing and twirling. And now I find that very playful, but a lot of people find that that's very disturbing in terms of, getting in touch with your whole kind of sensuality. And that's and it's nothing to do with the fitness. It's something else. It's like, I've been told, I've been programmed not to do that. I mean, my mother was horrified when I told her that I was doing it. And then all of her friends went, "Oh, that's so good for you." And then all of a sudden she was okay with it, changed her programming.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, what did your friends say? Right? Like, are your friends okay with it? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. But, when my kids started saying, "Oh, mom's got a pole in the living room," or "Mom has a pole room," they're all like, okay, so the cat's out of the bag. My mom knows. And all of her friends are going, "Wow, that's fantastic." Changed overnight. Just instantly changed the programming of it. But there's so much of the programming in us about what that means and what we're capable of, or what we're limited by, or whatever it is. So I wanted to ask you some cabaret questions.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So if you're new to the Cabaret podcast, cabaret, as I define it, and it isn't the only definition, but it's the most straightforward one to explain. Cabaret, for me, is anything that is in a small, intimate venue. So you could have cabaret performances in a very large venue, like Dita Von Teese does in huge theaters. And they are absolutely cabaret type of acts. They're, in fact, she would be burlesque acts. But they are not done in a cabaret. So cabaret would be anybody of your, comedy clubs, anybody who started singing, gin joints. I mean, Bette Midler talks very fondly about, kind of the cabaret days of singing, and, kind of in these little seedy clubs with small audience and so on. And unless you're born into a family, then, you started that way in comedy clubs if you're a comedian as well. It could be singing, it could be dancing, it could be both, it could be burlesque, it could be drag, it could be contortion. It
Uh-huh.
could be any number of things
Okay.
that is in a small, very intimate environment. And the thing is, there's pros and cons to that being in a small, intimate thing because you don't have tens of thousands of people in this massive theater,
Mm.
but it's also very intimate, which means you can see and hear and connect with everybody in the room. So, if people are commenting, if they're unless they're very quiet, you can hear what they're saying, and you'll
Oh.
hear things like, "Oh, they look nervous," and you're like, "Oh,
Ah! Yeah.
thanks." That's never happened to me,
Yes.
but I have been there when it's happened to some very well-seasoned performers coming back after COVID, and I was thinking, "Oh, I'd be dying if that was me right now," because I'm not as seasoned as they are, and
Mhm.
and they were completely, aware of it. And what's going on in your own bodily functions on the stage, your audience is very aware of as well. So they
Yeah.
vibrations and all kinds of different things, profuse touching and whatever it is that your body does that wasn't expected or
You're like,
welcomed,
"Woo."
voluntary. So that for me is kind of an explanation of, cabaret it is for everybody,
Mhm.
literally. I've seen amazing burlesque acts done in wheelchairs and in all
Oh.
abilities. I've seen, pole acts done with, fairly short poles, because obviously there's no ceiling height that's a standard in a random auditorium. But so there's pretty much anything that you would want to do in front of a large audience, or sorry, a small audience, that is legal. So for example, burlesque,
Legal.
you'd have to
That's
be
legal.
female, you would have to cover your nipples with pasties, and you would need to wear a merkin or a G-string, for example. And
Right.
not all burlesque is stripping, but very often that's what people associate with burlesque. So sometimes burlesque is the opposite. Sometimes it's about putting on clothes. Sometimes it's about not taking anything off at all. It's just the tease, just playing. I've seen acts where they've just kind of played with a glove for the whole time. So it could be anything. Yeah, yeah. In fact, I did have a conversation with somebody who is a New York burlesque performer who was talking about somebody that we both know is very, very famous in the burlesque world. And she said, "Oh, do you remember that act where she just played with like the little hole in the glove for like 2 minutes, but
Ah!
but it's very comedic. It was all very strange, and it was all, kind of elusive of I'm going to do this glove peel and then not." Um,
Everybody's like,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I've seen a 4 minute act where it's just somebody taking off a stocking, and they're just playing with it. So it's really anything that you want to that's legal. Okay, so my question,
"Oh
Sylvie,
gosh." I'm
if
like,
you were
"What is she
performing
gonna be
burlesque,
asking me?"
if you were performing cabaret, but we've been talking about limitations for long enough now, right? About this whole kind of like, oh, you don't have to think about it and you don't have to worry about it. And if you were performing cabaret, what kind of act would you perform?
Okay, okay, Heather, I've got an act for you. So this is, um, okay, so in the past 20 years, I've been a figure competitor. Okay, you're gonna love this because and it's kind of like a cabaret act because I had no clue what we had to do. And for me, I didn't read the instructions and I didn't read the rules. So I come to this competition and like how bodybuilders have to do like their dance and they have to do certain poses in this presentation, right? And they're like, well, the girls have to do this presentation. I was just like, what? This is the morning of the competition. So, or the night before. No, it was anyways. And I was just like, what am I going to do? So, and I'm like, okay, well, what do I have to do? Like, what you have to say, you have to put these certain poses in the, the presentation. So we did. So the way the competition went is that in the morning is all the judging. So that's where you go and you pose and everything. And then you come back for the night show. It's always like that, the night, and that's where everybody poses, they do a pose down, and they announce the winner. So there's only two of us in this category. And so I'm like, so I have my studio and I have this one song that just makes me want to tear my clothes off. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to go to my studio. I'm going to practice this little like routine I'm going to put together. And then I'm going to do, I had no idea what this evening was supposed to look like. So, so I did this and I was just like, let's wrap it around. So I'm in my little bikini, my heels, and I'm this like, they had this little skinny stage we had to walk up and it was like 3 feet wide. I'm just like, oh, just to make sure I don't fall off. And I'm just like, yeah. And I'm just moving to the music and I'm taking my clip out of my hair and I'm just like swinging her. And the guys in the audience were just like cheering. And one of the photographers, he's kind of like, I've never seen anything so like, oh my God. I wish I had a video because it's just like, I just like move into and this is one of these songs that I was like, every time I hear it, I'm just like, and so I'm like, I needed something to motivate me.
Yeah.
So, anyways, there was my cabaret dance right there.
There's your cabaret is okay. All right. So
does that answer your question?
Yeah, that answers my question beautifully. I have several friends who perform in there. And in fact, it's much easier because they come from the cabaret and aerial world like I do. Mm-hmm. So it's much easier for them because to put together an act because
like I had the afternoon.
Exactly.
I had like 4 hours to figure this out. And I'm like, I need a nap at the same time. So I put it together and then like, okay,
well done. I mean, well done for doing that. Okay, so let's say that you're gonna do something along those lines. You've got your music chosen. You already can move in heels. What one prop would you want on the stage with you?
Oh my God. That's a good question. Okay, so if I'm picturing myself in my heels, which I love strutting around my heels, haven't done it in 2 years, right? Like, oh my God, my feet are going to die.
Yeah, they are.
What would I do? I like, the flash dance, the chair in the water, like that kind of, like in my hair all wet and like just stringing it around. And a mask.
Okay. And is this just over the eyes mask?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like
carnival kind of mask.
Yeah, it's what's the word for that? Is that like those parties that have the masks, like a masquerade? Is it masquerade?
Yeah.
I went to a party like that. Everybody was in masks. It was so cool. Like you just like dress up and like you're like disappeared. Like it's like Halloween, right? You get the permission to be whoever you want. You can just like,
okay,
strut around.
So you have this mask and maybe you have a chair and an access to a shower. I love that. I'm really enjoying this whole fantasy now. Okay. And so you've got your mask and you've got your heels and you've got your chair and you've got your kind of your whole movement worked out. And what is your stage name, Sylvie? Please welcome to the stage.
Oh no, that might take me a while to think about. But
you know it.
I'm thinking Scarlet. I don't know if there's Scarlet something. No, that sounds cheesy, but
no,
we'll start with that.
You know what that name is.
I do.
You do. It's the part of you that makes you want to take your clothes off to that piece of music and is excited by the whole flash dance and it feels fabulous with the masquerade mask. What is it?
I don't know. I'm just thinking about how the cartoons of those women with like the flowing, like it's like Wonder Woman, but like the powerful, the body, the armor, I don't know. Let's think something from Vikings, and then I'll go to Vikings. The power in the women.
Yep. I don't know. I do. That's why I don't know your stage name, but I think it's interesting because with what we've been talking about around, kind of that voice in our head and our own limitations, one of the limitations as women that we often do is we limit that power and that sensuality and that fierceness and fearlessness.
Yeah.
And that's why I ask that question and kind of build up that act in our own minds, because there is a part of us that knows that about ourselves. Just as much as we have our inner critic and that what
Mhm.
that voice is and how that voice talks to us, we also have that unlimited, unapologetic, unafraid, powerful energy in us.
Yeah.
Archetype, if you want to say
It's
that.
like the rising of the phoenix, it's just like
Yes. Yes.
or just like
And
anything
maybe
is
it is.
possible.
Maybe it's Phoenix. Maybe that's
Oh, I like that. I like the whole just the power from like the wind faces our hair and just like the powerful and the clothing and the armor and the being able to fight and take what's ours and
yeah.
yeah,
And maybe it's Wonder
just
Woman. Maybe it's Phoenix Woman. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's
it's a Wonder Woman, but it's not Wonder Woman
mhm.
because a lot of girls are Wonder Women, but it's someone else. Like it's like I don't know. I have a kind of a picture of her. Like she's a cartoon character, but she's ugh, like power, and sometimes I just feel her coming out. Like I'm just like
And that's
this
why I
is
would love
going to
it
happen because
if you
I
name her.
want it.
Yes. And when you name that,
Mhm.
you can call upon that voice.
Maybe it is Phoenix, like Phoenix, right? Phoenix,
Mm.
like flame. No, that's a good question. I have to think about that.
So for some of us, it's about uh, overthinking, a bit like with the cyclists, kind of, oh, I got to get fit first and all of that. And for
Mhm.
some of us, it's more about, I can't claim that. Like if I'm going to be, Queen Helga or what, I don't know, I just made that up. If I'm going to be that, then who am I to claim, the title of queen or whatever? And so we suppress it. And when we own it and name it, we can tap into it. Mine is my stage name is very simple now because I re-previewed a name last October when we were allowed to go back to stages, which is also Helen. Um,
Okay.
and I was Helen back. And that was all about like all the angst and all the power that it took to get to where I am now and all of my backstory and so on. And I didn't want to be reliving that. And I made it be also Helen. I kept the Helen because for some reason everybody in the UK calls me Helen. It's just a thing. It's always been, always happened.
Really?
It's just happened. And I've embraced it. And I became Helen because I'm a mother, but also I'm a businesswoman, but also and I can be anything I want. And so I can add infinity amounts of things to that list
Mm,
that are also, I'm also powerful, I'm also fragile, I'm also fierce, I'm also vulnerable, I'm also, and it's all of those things. And you
mhm.
will not make me apologize for any of them. And that's where that comes from. It's
Yeah.
unapologetic. It's not a clever name. Well, it is actually it's kind of turned out to be a clever name because then people go, like, also Helen? I'm also Helen, and it's like, I'm also Helen, it's like, so
Oh.
and I'm also, and so there's lots of different tonality to it, which is
Mhm.
all very meta, which wasn't intended. But what I'm saying is it doesn't have to be something clever. It just has to be something that means something to you. And so when I'm like, I can't do that. Yeah, but also I can
Yeah.
because it
Oh,
goes into
yeah.
it's that. And
Mhm.
so it can be anything we choose it to be. And when we name it, we get to own it anytime we want to. And whether it's Phoenix or whatever that is, it's like, yes, but Phoenix is fierce and I can do this.
Yes, I
And
like
then
that.
when you get stuck in your place of, oh, surprise, you've got this performance happening later, you can go, well, that's cool because Phoenix can totally do
Because
that.
this is like, she's here.
Yes,
Let's go.
exactly. Exactly.
It's this, yeah, it's the, it's the character, the extra person that you need to become to bring apart bring about the things that you want. And I'm like, I've always been like that ever since I was a kid. Like, you can't tell me no. I mean, to a point, I'll just figure out how I can.
Mm-hmm.
And I do, and I will.
Yeah.
So you can either work with me or I'll just figure it out on my own. I mean, but you know, when you're put in situations like that, you have to like, I can like sit back and go, don't you want to? Like, I mean, if you truly don't want to, then you're really not going to. And
Sure.
that's the situation of a lot of women. It's like, it's way easier to not do anything, to say no, forget it, to not show up, to not, stay in bed, to whatever, the kids or this. But you could set yourself up, plan it, get things or teach your kids how to do things. My kids were like getting up on their own. They've always been like that for some reason. But, and they can make their own breakfast. They can tie their own shoes. We don't want to go down that whole road, but you know what I mean? Like, women need to empower their kids to do stuff. Like, take care. Stop making them dependent on you. Like, you wake up one day like, oh, my kids, they always want me to do stuff. I'm like, yeah, because you made them that way. Like, anyways, we don't want to go down that rabbit hole
because my children went away to high school.
Oh.
The education system in the UK, and my late husband was ill at the time, so we weren't able to leave. And so the next best thing was to let them leave. So I'm fully an advocate of, you can fly transatlantic when you're 15. You can figure it out. You'll know how to get, transit via somewhere to get.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a full advocate of that, but on speed.
Well, I mean, like, think about kids. Like, we're kids don't know how to survive on their own when they go to school. Like, our kids, and we've been telling them for years that even though the school might be down the street, you're not living at home.
Yeah.
Like, no. It's like, Daddy and I are having the house themselves. We'll buy a house you can live in, but you're not going to stay and go to school and live here. Like, no. Like, my husband and I, like my soulmate, my husband, he, both of us left when we graduated from high school and went to school. I went to work, he went to school, and we're both like of the mindset, like, you're not going to save money living at home. Like, who does? Like, seriously? I think it's more grief for both parties. And so they already know, like, you're not staying here and going to school, and so they're okay with it. You know what I mean? They're not 11 and 9 years old. You are going to be leaving the house and going to university, and that's okay. You're going to be taken care of. We'll take care of you,
and you'll be fine. And
they're not going to be surprised when we kick them out of the house.
And then we can't move home.
Yeah, but some parents are like, "What? You're gonna like?" I'm like, "Yeah." I go, "Why wouldn't you? They're dorms. They need to learn how to live by themselves and figure out how to do their laundry. You should be teaching them that,
and they will figure it out. They will. They absolutely will."
Yeah. So
it's a very different generation to my parents' generation. Very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my grandparents were at war at 16. So,
Yeah. So it's just like, this is, and anyways, it's letting them go. Like, honestly, cut the umbilical cord. Like, that you had them like decades ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm such a hard nose. I'm like, people are just like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, like, don't you want to have an empty house? Like,
yeah,
that's the first thing we think about when we have kids. Oh my God, they're gonna be out of the house when like 20 years. I'm gonna be 60. Like let them go. Like, don't keep them around.
Okay, Sylvie, I will be very interested when you figure out your stage name.
Oh, yes. I like Phoenix, though. I'm liking Phoenix because I always think of the bird.
Yeah.
And then me.
And maybe it's rising phoenix, and maybe it's fiery phoenix, and maybe it's, I don't know.
I like it.
I don't know. But you'll find her, and I would be very interested to know when you do find her. I think if you're listening to this and you don't know what your name is, you're possibly trying to overthink it. It's in you. Just as Sylvie is playing with this whole kind of, I know there's a sense of phoenix. I don't know what that is yet.
Yeah.
But you'll find it.
I'm going to go pull up that picture because I use it as a profile picture. And I'm just like, I love that. That's me. Get out of my way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And maybe it is Phoenix, just simply Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or purely Phoenix. Who knows? Who knows? But I'll be very interested to find out. Thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you?
Okay. Where can people find me? Okay, you got everybody get ready. You can Google. Well, you could go to Instagram first, Sylvie Dow _cyclist. And it's the same handle on TikTok if you happen to be there too. Like I mentioned, you can search Sylvie Dow on YouTube. You can find me there. That's where all my podcasts are, and my fitness, just fitness videos are there. And then if you're really, truly interested in, you can find me on Facebook. Truly interested in the membership in working out with me, no matter where you are. You could be in the UK, you can be Eastern Seaboard, here in Canada. Message me and I'll send you the invitation because it's not actually out there. I do post it on Facebook. But yeah, so it's more like an invite. And it goes with my my Facebook group as well, Goal Crushers. So
and if you're listening to this on podcast, I just want to spell the words. So Sylvie is SYLVIE, right? So that's Sylvie, and then still part of that same word is which is DAOUST. _cyclist.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave you to look up how to spell cyclist. but just be, if you get there or thereabouts on social media, you'll find Sylvie because it'll just redirect you.
Yeah, and please, drop me a DM and say hi. Say like I heard you on Heather's podcast. Confidence through Cabaret. Yes.
That's the question.
And yes, just say hi. I'll respond. Yeah.
Amazing. It has been such a pleasure talking to you, Sylvie. It has been so much fun.
Thank you, Heather. I really appreciate it.
We have covered such a range of topics. You know what I would say for me, the key outcome is like, don't wait. If you really want to do it, then do it. Just do the thing, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Sylvie, for being here. I'm Heather Jean. We are Confidence Through Cabaret on all of the socials, except for Twitter. We are at YBYWYS. And on Clubhouse, I am at Heather YBYWYS. And those 6 little letters stand for, it is your body, it is your world, and it's your stage. Take up space and own it.
Love it.
Thank you, Sylvie.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.